trying to do that.
That'd be a sight, wouldn't it?
All right, you guys are now live.
Thank you, Carrie.
You're welcome.
Good evening, Chief Brenner. How are you today?
Oh, I'm all right.
Well, I like the update to Outlook. Have you guys seen the new interface?
Yeah, so do I. I agree, Mark.
Certainly a lot easier to use.
It really is.
I don't think
So
I had
it's
to
funny
change
is-
anything with my phone getting my email though, which is good.
I
But
didn't
it's
either, Dave.
easier
It
on the
was nice.
computer.
Dave, were you using Outlook before that?
I do. I use it for some of my work, but I incorporated it into my cell phone years ago, and it must have just carried right over. Wasn't a problem. Still accessing it.
Yeah.
Of course, I may have just jinxed it, Len.
Well, that's why I'm working off of two different electronics tonight. So our new laptop, I cannot get the city web mail up and running, but thankfully it's running on my iPad, which I've been normally doing the Zoom on. So I decided to go Zoom on my phone tonight and just follow along on my iPad, which it's not the easiest for me.
No, I agree.
So I don't know what's going on for me. I even tried logging in on my son's computer with the city, and I'm not getting in. So right now the only city I have is off my iPad.
Are you using the web link, Len? Or are you using a built-in email service?
I was just going to the secured HTTP mail.oniana.ny.us.
Did you take
two
Exchange off of it? I sent out an email last night. We had the server upgrade was anticipated but unexpected as far as timeline was concerned. So we didn't have time to properly notify people that the web link was going to be changing. So if you were going to use the HTTP address to access it, you need to remove that /exchange from the end, and then it should work as normal.
Okay. I will give you a shot later tonight or tomorrow.
Yeah.
I got a little frustrated earlier today. It was after an hour. I was like, oh, okay, timeout.
Yeah, understandable. That's come up quite a bit.
Gary, just so you know, my link automatically updated by itself. I didn't have to take Exchange off of it.
Nice. You've got 7 o'clock, Mayor, whenever you're ready.
looks like we have everybody present. So the meeting of the May 19th, 2020 City of Oneonta Common Council is hereby called to order. I will call the roll. Councilmember Murphy,
Here.
Councilmember Davies,
Here.
Councilmember Risberger, Dave, are you on mute? Dave Risberger?
Looks like, there he is. Looked like he was frozen.
Yeah, my
It was-
computer's freezing here. I'm here.
Okay, okay. Councilmember Lepari Shu,
Here. Hey, everyone.
Councilmember Carson,
Here, thank you, Mayor.
Councilmember Harrington,
Here.
Councilmember Rafter. I don't see John, and we'll go to Councilmember Drenick.
Here.
Okay, so all are present except for Councilmember Rafter. Okay, let's, I'm going to just reverse the order a little bit. I'm going to let Katie go first with the COVID-19 work group report.
Everybody, hello. So I had previously, Carrie had sent out a copy of the report that I'd put together with the minutes or with the materials at the end of last week. So I just thought we would go through it briefly, and then I'll be happy to answer any questions about either the report or about, you know, what the work group is looking at. So just in general, I included a note on the background and the scope. I feel like, you know, we have so many different task forces, work groups that have come out of the same emergency. I just kind of wanted to clarify where this particular work group came from and kind of the types of things that we're considering. So the work group, the operations work group actually was kind of created informally by Dave Hotailing, who's our transit director, because he had come to the mayor and I want to say maybe at the end of February with some concerns about cleaning of city buses, given the, you know, the coronavirus as an emerging threat at the time. So from that point, the mayor had put us into touch with Dr. Diane Georgeson, who's the city's health officer. And it was just kind of a way to have facilitate communication between the health officer and the department heads for a variety of operational matters. From there, when the situation started to get a little bit more serious and start to affect New York a little bit more, we kind of formed the task force work group a little bit more formally. And it is co-chaired by Greg Mattice and I. And it includes the transit director, Carrie Harrington, as the deputy city clerk who handles communications, the police chief Brenner, police lieutenant Witzenberg, Chief Pigeon in the fire department, Assistant Chief Maloney. Eventually we included the code enforcement officer, Steve Yearley, the city's health officer, the mayor, 2 members of the common council, and we included the town of Oneonta supervisor Wood and the city attorney as needed. So that's kind of who's on the group. We meet remotely via Zoom every Friday afternoon just to kind of be sure that we're all keeping in touch with each other, and we hear reports from different people in the group. So in general, we heard from the health officer, Dr. Georgeson. She provided some information on local, state, national trends on COVID-19. She is a key link for us to Bassett Hospital. So she provides us with a lot of good information about their operations and emerging trends and just in general kind of how things are going in the community. We heard an update from Mayor Herzig, who was recently appointed to be part of the Mohawk Valley Regional Control Room. I don't know, he'll probably discuss that in a little bit more detail, perhaps in his report, maybe. That group, it's part of the statewide Mohawk Valley group that on a daily basis meets to review the metrics that allows the region to remain open. He reported on the city's Survive and Thrive task force and just said that it was meeting with some success, which was obviously great to hear. We heard an update from Chief Pigeon from the fire emergency management perspective. We discussed at length the possibility of testing first responders. We Also, the chief reported that he'd been able to get some hand sanitizer through the New York State Clean program and distribute it to a couple local organizations, including Fordeaux and the Teen Center. So that was great. Police, Chief Brenner just reported that the department is continuing to enforce social distancing requirements when possible. And that the city court was going to be opening back up, I think this week on Monday, right, Chief? Right, okay. Under operations, Greg gave an update that just indicated that we returned certain staff to normal levels beginning Monday, and that was employees who don't have the ability to work remotely and where there's a significant amount of work to be done. So DPW, the parks, central garage, and then we have which I believe you've all seen at this point, but it's the city's phased reopening plan, which in accordance with the governor's regulations, kind of reintroduces our staff in a phased in basis, which is in line with, as I mentioned, what the governor's doing with the state's phased reopening plan. So we have a plan to return all of our workers to a normal schedule with additional safety and health precautions in place. And the bulk of our workers will be back, I want to say around June 1st. So there are 3 phases to our opening. The phases do not necessarily coincide with the statewide phases as determined by the governor. But the phases that we have, again, are just to gradually reintroduce our staff back into the workplace. Transportation, Dave Hoteling reported that we fortunately are the recipients of some CARES funding. I think that the numbers are still being worked out, but it was part of a federal grant for rural transit operations. So that was very good news. The department is beginning the process of resuming more of a normal schedule with increased bus runs, with the exception of SUNY, obviously. And they're continuing with very rigorous safety protocols in the department. On communications, Carrie Harrington reported some internal information about our new phone system, and Carrie and Nancy are continuing to work with the various chairs of boards and commissions for continuing to meet remotely as needed. Code enforcement, all is well there. They're preparing to increase operations and reintroduce fire inspections, which was good news. And then we just heard a very brief update from the town. So that was what we discussed at our last meeting. That's the type of information that we're all sharing and hearing. So at this point, Greg, do you have anything to add to that? No, he's shaking his head no. Okay, so does anybody, oh, great. Does anybody have any questions on anything in the report or on the work group in general? No?
Not so much a question, but just a thank you. It was a very thorough document, very easy to read. I know there's a lot of information, a lot going on, but thank you for sending that out.
No problem.
Yes, I would also like to back up Luke's comments. Thank you, Katie and Greg, for the amount of hours that you guys must have put into that document. Thank you very much for that. Also, do we have a limited amount of time to spend that CARES funding for the OPT department?
I don't know the answer. Ginny, do you?
No, I don't have the answer yet. Len, I haven't been able to read through all the paperwork, but I do not believe that there's going to be a limited time for my brief reading on it. David Hoteling and I are going to be going through it in depth, and as soon as we get all of the details, we were planning on updating the Finance Committee.
So sorry if I cut out there for a minute. I had to rejoin. So was there any questions for me, or I'm so sorry, that was horrible.
There was just a question, Katie, on the if there was a time limit on the grant.
Oh, okay.
And I don't believe there is, but David and I are going to be reading through the grant and presenting a summary report to the Finance Committee next week.
Excuse me, Gary. Just so you know, John has been trying to sign in.
I don't know if I'm the only one who's not hearing you well.
I'll reach out to him by phone and see if I can assist them.
Okay, and I think Dave is having some internet issues, it seems.
Seeing if that helps at all. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Okay. I sent him I forwarded the email link or the email with all the links, but hopefully he can access it that way.
you're still breaking up, Dave. We're not, you're not coming in clear.
So I have a question for Katie, if you can hear me.
Yeah.
Are we, do we have any projected time frame within the context of what you've been working on for when we may actually be able to figure out a socially distanced common council meeting on the city's in the city's premises?
Sure. So the recommendation from the task force is that we continue to meet, well, work group, excuse me, a little bit of a misnomer as task force. The recommendation is that we kind of continue to meet remotely through the month of June, but obviously that's subject to discussion and conversation and decision by all of you. Continuing to meet remotely through June would be in line with what the city is attempting to do in terms of continued restricted access to City Hall and other public buildings, as well as giving our staff, the ability to kind of, adjust to the new normal about, what we're expecting in terms of cleanup times and getting our building cleaning staff, giving them the ability to really clean thoroughly the way that we need them to. So yeah, the recommendation is that we would continue to meet remotely through June, but again, it's really up to all of you.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, I would recommend that we do continue to meet remotely through June for a couple of reasons. One, I don't think we're ready to open up council meetings to the general public. It'll be hard to control social distancing in that environment, as well as I think that it's important that we communicate an example. The more that we treat things as normal, it sends a message to everybody else to treat things as normal. There is still no group gatherings permitted more than 10 people. That remains in effect throughout the state. However, there is discretion for municipalities to use in holding their meetings. But I think to be consistent with what we're asking everybody else to do, I think it's wise for us to continue to meet through the month of June remotely. And if we do require a public hearing, we can also, Kerry has figured out a way to do that as well, in the case that we should. And our boards and commissions are able to meet remotely, including the Zoning Board of Appeals and the Planning Commission, where people will be able to participate as applicants remotely. And the Board of Public Service, I believe, will also be meeting this month remotely to hear appeals on water bills. Okay, with that, a few things I want to touch upon. So effective last Friday, as everybody knows, the city of Oneonta, along with the 6 counties of the Mohawk Valley region, took our first baby steps. They were really baby steps towards reopening our city and our business community. As a member of the regional control room, I meet every single day, including weekends, with all of the county executives, the mayors of Utica and Rome, the governor's representatives, and our Mohawk Valley ESD staff. We review the metrics, the 7 key measurements that we're required to meet that have to do with number of new cases, number of deaths, percentage of hospital rooms, percentage of ICU rooms that are available, number of tracers, number of tests we're able to provide. We look at those numbers in real time. They are submitted by the hospital every morning, and we see them every afternoon. The good news, the very good news, is we are doing well We are holding steady. There are no significant changes. And unless something very unforeseen happens in the next few days, we should be well positioned to move to phase 2 on May 29th, which I believe is Tuesday of next week. So that is very good news. Now, a lot of people are asking what happens in phase 2, what businesses can open, what are the guidelines for businesses? That has not been decided yet. The governor's office is still working on that. That has not been published. So anything that you hear about what businesses can open next week is speculation at this time. We hope before this week is over, but you never know, that there will be published on the New York Forward website, and I will share it as soon as I get it, a list of the specific types of businesses that can be open in phase 2 and the guidelines for each of those specific types of business that they will be required to follow. Right now, there's a lot of people saying, you know, beauty parlors will be opening on the 28th or the 29th or June 1st, and et cetera. None of that is certain at this time. We really don't know. So anything you hear is pure speculation. Here in Oneonta, you know, a big part of our economy and a big part of our public health are our 2 colleges. I can tell you that there are no decisions that have been made regarding the opening, not only of our colleges, but of any colleges in the state. I have been in continuous communication with both of our college presidents. I've been in continuous communication with our state representatives, the governor's office on the subject. And later this week, there will be a meeting in which all the presidents of Mohawk Valley colleges, both public and private, will attend, along with a representative from the governor's executive chamber. I've been invited to sit in on that meeting, so I will do so I can hear firsthand what is being discussed between the college presidents and the governor's office, and have a better idea of where we may be going in the fall. Right now, there are many, many different scenarios being proposed, and honestly, nobody from the governor's office on down knows what is going to happen. Financial impact upon the city is another thing that is very much up in the air. We know we're going to be hit hard. We don't know how hard. We're continuing to get new numbers in, but you know, we really are not going to have a clear picture. We have seen no funding coming forward from the state, from the federal government at this time, and we don't know what the impact of state aid will be. So there are a lot of unknowns. Next week on Monday, both of our committees, our council committees, finance and planning committee, will have an opportunity to talk about ways in which we should be responding to the expected financial hurt that we're going to be experiencing, even though we don't know to what extent it will be. I strongly believe that it'd be wise of us to adopt some guiding principles, particularly if we're looking at how we're going to reduce spending, which I'm sure there will be some reduction in spending. I think that one thing that is clear is the most important thing that we face right now is being successful in our efforts for relief and recovery. I think it's important that this is not a time to hold back on relief and recovery investment. And local government plays a very significant role in stimulating the local economy. We are one of the largest employers. We are one of the largest spenders of money in this area. Significant layoffs or significant cuts in spending will have a ripple effect in our local economy and businesses. And just as we are asking businesses who can afford to not lay off their employees and to not reduce their investment and spending, we need to lead by example to the extent that we can afford to do so. One of the committees on the Survive and Thrive group, which is chaired by Councilmember Risberger, is actually putting together a recommendation to council on what will be the most important things for the city to have as assets to be successful in the post-COVID world. And I think that information will be a recommendation, will be helpful for us in setting some of our guiding principles. I do believe that when this is over, the deck is going to be shuffled. Whether you're a community, a business, or an organization, if you're on top now, you may not be on top when this is over. If you're on the bottom of the deck now, you may not be on bottom. You may be close to the top when this is over. A lot of that will be determined, some by luck, but much will be those that are good at forecasting and predicting what the post-COVID world will value, and those that are successful in investing in those values stand a good chance of coming out on top. Those that don't stand a good chance of coming out on bottom. So I appreciate that some of the Strive and Thrive folks, are spending some time talking about that, doing some research, and they're taking a look at our comprehensive plan, and they're going to make recommendations as to what in the plan is still important in a post-COVID world, what things that weren't in the plan are now important in a post-COVID world, and what things that are in the plan may no longer be as important. So these will all be helpful for us in setting priorities, which can serve as our principles in any cuts that we have to make. The Strive and Thrive task force and the committees are doing a great job. I really have to thank Mark Drenick and Judy Pangman, who are leading the charge. The additional committees that have formed are meeting every week. I try to visit with them just for 10 minutes each meeting, just to say hello, mostly to say thank you for what they're doing, keep up with what they're doing. But they really are setting the pace for us in relief and recovery and Strive and then Thrive. So I really appreciate what they're doing. With that, I will open this up to questions, at this time, if anybody has any questions on any subject. Yes, Councilmember Lepari-Shu.
Yeah, I was hoping that you or some of the folks who are here who are involved might just expand a little bit on your report to it's not a task force, right? The group that was in that report in terms of success. It just was a very short blip, and I know that they're rapidly expanding and taking on all different things. And I was wondering if you could speak to what you're alluding to in terms of like what successes they're seeing.
That the Strive and Thrive group you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay. Mark Drenick, you want to take that?
Yeah, sure. So we have the promotion committee is engaged in some short-term and long-term promotions that are about putting shoppers into a more active mix with our downtown merchants as they're starting to open, starting to do what we can to assist those merchants as they're trying to make that connection to the curbside pickup and how that all is going to work. They're also working on a long-term planning for an event that is starting to look like a 2-day event that will be kind of a celebratory demarcation from the survive notion of the cities dealing with the pandemic to the thrive notion of how we're going to take advantage of the fact that we are, as the mayor has described it many times, a jewel that will be quite attractive to hopefully a number of people. The finance committee is working on identifying monies that have not been spent and reimagining how they might be spent in certain cases, also determining new funding resources and really being inventive in outreach to financial partners and the county. And I actually audited that meeting today, and it's a very good group. The the marketing committee, which is headed up by Barbara Ann Hegan, and Jill Morgan Meek is working in partnership with the infrastructure committee, which is really an asset identification committee, and taking that good work and starting to use it to target identified markets such as the telecommuters, potentially, maybe industries, certainly looking at alumni, people who already have fallen in love with this area. If you've spent 4 years in this area, you probably have a soft spot for the area. And so that's a market that we will be looking to tap, but they are doing some fantastic work too. And the work that Dave Risberger and Al Rubin's committee have been doing, I think we've already talked about a little bit. In fact, that committee is bringing work to the Common Council that is going to take the Common Council into a really productive direction, I think, regarding some of those assets. And finally, we're really open, Katie and everybody, to the community, and I guess we're being broadcast on YouTube. So open to the community. We wound up with an idea that found some life on Facebook not 2 weeks ago about restaurants taking over more than even just the sidewalks, potentially even into the street. And that was brought to us, and it's already, there are about half a dozen people engaged and more in trying to determine whether or not that is a likely method for social distancing for the restaurants. So any idea that may come from the community, it wasn't even something that we were considering, is likely to garner a lot of attention, and frankly, we will put to work anybody that wants to work. And so the committee started, the task force started off with about 6-8 people, something like that, and is now with its various subcommittees, we're looking at probably 30-35 people who are engaged now, and I suspect it'll be more than that when we're done. It's a community effort. There are great ideas and a lot of work being done by community members, some of who have never worked together before, others who, you know, this is their bread and butter. But ultimately what we're achieving as a community is, I think, already generated some interest, at least at the county level, to see how they might be able to replicate some of the work that we're doing here. So a lot to be proud of. And Katie, you know, I'm sure that, you know, we can figure out a way to get you involved as well. I'd love to have you involved.
Thanks. That was a great answer to the question, Mark. Well done. You know, this started, I attended the, I'll get you in a second, Dave. I see you. This started because I was asked to be part of the county economic development task force. And it's a good group, but I saw that they weren't going to be able to focus on what Oneonta needs. We needed to get our own group together. So I put together our own group. Right now, the county group is asking, how can they join us? Because we've taken off and we're being results oriented and action oriented. And, you know, they haven't gotten off the ground really yet. It's a good group. There's a lot of discussion, a lot of information sharing, but they haven't been as action oriented. You know, all I keep saying to the group is we got to be results oriented. We can't turn into just information sharing. That's very important at this time because people are out there hurting and need results and need actions, and they're really taking that message to heart. So it's great. Dave?
Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback off what Mark was saying. My subcommittee group met yesterday. Basically, what we really realized when we got talking is we really have two different charges here. One is to collect assets and liabilities to growth and survival of business here in Oneonta, getting that information to the marketing committee. At the same time, we have to collect information back from the marketing committee about our target groups. Once we do that, we're going to take the target group information and the liabilities tied in with that, Then that's what we're going to go back to the comprehensive plan, go through the suggestions in the back of the plan, and tease out the ones that are most related and that are at a high priority level to take care of those liabilities. We're going to take that list and bring it back to the council, because it's our job as a council to deal with that. And I know some of the liabilities were already in the process. Just talking with Stephen Yearley and Judy Pangman, I think they've been doing a phenomenal job addressing these little by little, because some of these liabilities have been building up over 30, 40 years, and it's going to take some time to take care of them. But that's where we are at this point. And so I think the council should expect in the next few weeks a priority list coming to deal with some of the liabilities we're finding. I hope that all came through. I don't know if my computer
No.
freezes up anymore.
Loud and clear, loud and clear. Any other questions? Okay, thank you all. With that, we'll move to the consent agenda. Okay, all of the items tonight are on the consent agenda. I may just add a couple words to each one just for clarification. The first is a motion that the council approves the minutes of the regular meeting, which was held on May 5th, 2020. Second is a motion that the council approves the warrants, which total $362,417.32, and the same be placed on the Director of Finance's desk for payment as presented. 3, motion that the council provisionally appoints Brittany Critty to the position of accountant at a base salary of $50,000. This is effective June 1st, 2020, subject to the satisfaction of all applicable civil service requirements. And further, the council authorizes the advance of 1 week of vacation time to Ms. Critty upon hire. Just for your information, this is the position that became vacant when Nicole Camerata resigned effective the first week in March, I believe it was. And we've been operating shorthanded for the last 2.5 months. 4, motion that the council authorizes the change order in the amount of $2,817. This is for the purchase of a multi-purpose police vehicle from LDV Custom Specialty Vehicles Incorporated of Burlington, Wisconsin. This brings the total cost of the vehicle to $182,660. It is to be funded by the Public Safety Equipment Reserve Fund. This vehicle is a custom-made vehicle that was ordered in January or February prior to COVID. And this was as part of the budget that had been approved. What you're looking at is a change order for to add approximately $2,800 in accessories to the vehicle. Number 5. Motion pursuant to the provisions of general municipal law of the state of New York, the Common Council approves an expenditure of $49,528.19 from the General Public Safety Reserve to be used toward the purchase of a police vehicle from Van Bortel Ford in East Rochester, New York. This is pursuant to the state's joint procurement program to piggyback on the county of Onondaga procurement. This also is a vehicle that was purchased, I believe, in February, and there is some small additional amount that's being added to the original purchase price, but the commitment to purchase this was made pre-COVID. 6, motion that the council accepts the recommendation of McFarland Johnson and awards the Albert S. Nader Regional Airport Terminal Apron Reconstruction Contract bid to Boland's Excavation and Topsoil out of Conklin, New York as the low bidder in the amount of $1,311,731. This is contingent upon approval and award of the FAA Airport Improvement Program grant application And let me point out that as a result of the CARES stimulus bill, our local share is being waived. It's being covered by the CARES bill. So this project is being funded in 100% by the FAA. It will cost the city nothing. And number 7 is a motion that the council approves the purchasing agent's recommendation to award bids for the 2020 materials and supplies. Per the report titled Materials and Supplies 2020 Summary of Bids, detailing the item and the bidder as presented. This is effective for 1 year from the date of the award. That concludes the consent agenda. Are there any requests to remove any of these items? I believe, which one, Katie?
3, please.
Okay. Any others? Okay, I don't believe I'm hearing any. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda minus item 3.
So moved.
Okay, Councilmember Davies moves the motion. I have a second by Councilmember Drenick. I saw his hand go up. I'll call the vote. Councilmember Murphy,
Aye.
Councilmember Davies,
Yes.
Councilmember Risberger,
Aye.
Councilmember Lepari Shu,
Aye.
Councilmember Carson,
Aye.
Councilmember Harrington,
Aye.
Councilmember Rafter, John Rafter,
Oh. Yes.
okay. Councilmember Drenick.
Aye.
Okay, so the consent agenda passes minus item 3. Item 3 regarding the appointment of Brittany Critty to the position of accountant. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
I'm not sure who made that motion.
Councilmember Murphy, sorry.
I'm sorry. Moved by Councilmember Murphy, second by Councilmember Risberger. Discussion.
Yeah, so I just was hoping, just before voting on it, to get some clarification on the reason for advancing the week of vacation time. I wasn't able to be at the finance HR meetings, so I must have missed discussion on that. And I just wanted to get some clarification.
Sure, I'd be happy to answer that. This was actually something that didn't come up at the finance committee meeting. It came up after when we were negotiating with the candidate. So keep in mind that when we're hiring people in administrative level titles, we are not always hiring entry level individuals. A lot of these people are department heads, deputy department heads, people who are experienced professionals, and they're not beginning at the beginning of their career. And so it becomes a very tough sell for us to attempt to recruit people and tell them, listen, you have absolutely no time on the books when people are leaving 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks of paid vacation elsewhere. So this is something that's been done in the past where we advance a little bit of time so the person has some time on the books when they come, when they begin their employment, again, just to be used as they need. So we're not looking for her to be given any additional time. It's just we would like to be given the flexibility to give her half of what she's already entitled to upfront, to give her a little bit of an ability to have a couple days off over the summer due to a couple planned or a planned vacation or a planned appointment. I can't remember exactly what it was for, but that's the justification.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Any further discussion? Okay, and I'll call the vote. Councilmember Murphy,
Aye.
Councilmember Davies,
Yes.
Councilmember Risberger,
Aye.
Councilmember Lepari Shu,
Aye.
Councilmember Carson,
Aye.
Councilmember Harrington,
Aye.
there you go. Councilmember Rafter,
Aye.
and Councilmember Drenick.
Aye.
Okay, that passes. That concludes the motions on the agenda. I'll open it up to any additional business on anybody's part. Councilmember Murphy.
This might not be necessary, but I noticed that we got an email from Ginny regarding warrants. Do we have to vote on warrants at this meeting?
Vote on the warrant?
Yes, that's correct. I just making sure I didn't miss something.
We did. At least I hope we did. I thought we did. It was the first, it was the second motion. I'm pretty sure that I read it.
You did, Mayor.
Okay.
You're good.
I'm sorry. I got thrown off when we switched the. I'm sorry. My mistake.
Gotcha. No problem. Thanks. Anybody else have anything? Len?
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to add some additional information for the council members and the general public to know that on motion 6, the mayor told you that through the CARES Act that our local share would be covered. So that's a little over $130,000. I'd also like to acknowledge the chairman of the Airport Commission, Ed May. I know that Ed spent a lot of time with the different federal and state agencies to make that happen. He is a strong advocate for us with our airport, and I just wanted to acknowledge that he just saved the city taxpayers a little more than $130,000 because he's advocating so strongly for us.
Well, now I will certainly have to buy Ed a cup of coffee after that. Anybody else? Dave?
Yeah, I just have a quick question. I know that through emails, we had a discussion about street sweepers, and I just wanted to get a clarification from Greg. Greg, do we have both our street sweepers working now, or is one getting work done on it and only one is out there? Because the reason I ask is I know we're short-staffed right now because of our limitations of how many people we can have out in the streets working. And I know it's been a little bit more difficult getting the streets cleaned up after winter this year. So I just want to know where we are with all that.
Yeah, street sweepers are pretty finicky machines. They spend a lot of time, a lot of maintenance involved, and one of them is down now. It'll be down for a little while. I think the other one's been brought back up, so we'll be getting out there. And
okay,
but we have been put behind by short staffing. Fortunately, we're back to full staff in DPW now, so hopefully we can catch up.
Well, I passed it on Chestnut Street the other day as I was heading out to Greater Plains School, so I knew one of them was out. I just didn't know at what capacity. So thanks.
Yeah, unfortunately, we tend to have one down almost all the time.
Yeah. Okay.
Do I see anybody else? Scott?
Then unmute. There we go. I just want to say thank you to everybody with everything that's going on, and it's nice that the board's been reaching out to each other and keep communicating, especially since we don't get to go face to face and we're on the computer. Sometimes we shake our heads like bobbleheads at a Yankee game, but it's nice to actually be able to talk to everybody on the phone. And I just want to say, if people don't realize it, but this Common Council has been engaged throughout this whole thing, and it's nice to see that everybody's taking on little bits here and there to make sure that we're running smooth. And our department heads have been phenomenal through the whole thing. And I just wanted to say a thank you to all of our city employees throughout all this.
Right. Mark?
Yeah, I just want to jump in real quick and remind folks, Scott, you've got a ward meeting, a virtual ward meeting coming up.
Yes, I do. Friday night.
All right. So, you know, I'm going to plug those things.
We'll see how it goes. It's going to be the first one for, I'm hoping it's going to go off.
You're going to have some tech assistance.
If there is nothing else, I wasn't made aware of any correspondence. So with that, thank you all. We're, I think, doing as well as we could hope to be doing under the circumstances, and hopefully we will keep on doing better. Thank you all for all that you're doing and all of your hard work. And we are adjourned.